Jai Mataji and welcome listeners. Today we have a very exciting episode. In the previous episode, we discussed different approaches to education and embracing the purpose of our life. Today we'll start our journey into the different areas we need to focus on, and we will dive into detail in one of the areas. But before doing so, let's take a quick check and see how ready we are. We'll assess ourselves from this example. In 2004, there were two students who were working on a very simple project. Their goal was to make a website to connect all the students on campus. They had a great idea, and one of the students was offered money to sell that idea. You see, most students would have taken the money and walked away, but this student chose not to do that. The student was able to see beyond that, and he saw all possibilities that would come from it. So he didn't wait at all. He moved fast. He built something big. He dropped out of college, and by 2012, he started up a company that was valued at $104 billion. This was the famous Mark Zuckerberg's company that became a hit with the journey starting out from Facebook. See, Mark Zuckerberg took a leap when he saw all the possibilities. The door opened for him and he jumped. Today I want to ask you, what do you do when a door opens for you? Do you jump into the future even though it's scary and risky? Or do you wait because change is uncomfortable? Just like Mark, we're living in a very special situation right now on the earth. We're witnessing the birth of a new world. And just like Mark's situation, there are great possibilities of what's to come. The question is, do we put ourselves forward or not? You see, Mark did not give in to what others did previously. And just like him, we are also not here to repeat what others have done previously. You know, they say insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. We are all born here right now on earth to do something different. So there's no point of trying to repeat what has been done before and hasn't worked. So if we think that just pushing people to become more spiritual will help, then all we're doing is creating another society that is just slightly different. And the transformation that we are speaking of right now is a transformation like going from milk to yogurt. And what this means is we need to change our entire being, our mind, our body, our emotions, and our desires, and we need to put in effort to give the psychic a chance to come forward. So my question for you today is, are you ready to embark on this journey? This is the same question that Mother asked. If your answer is yes, then you are on the right track. The information that I'll be sharing in the upcoming episodes is all centered around one purpose. So let's not forget that one purpose, which is to connect with God and express God. And everything that we do will surround that one purpose. We'll start our deep dive into taking a look at how to prepare the body. I mentioned in one of the earlier episodes that there's a supramental force present on the earth right now. If we want the supramental force to work on us, then we also have to put in effort towards making our body, more specifically the cells of our body, open to the forces. You know, our body has the ability to do so many things that even we cannot imagine. Let's learn from this example. In 1986, the famous Joe Dispenza was hit by a car during a triathlon and he broke 6 vertebrae in his spine. Doctors told him that he needed an extremely complex spinal surgery that involved metal rods, and even then, there was a chance that he would never be able to walk again. So the options that were given to him were two: operate or risk paralysis. Joe Dispenza avoided surgery and he managed to heal himself just using his mind. For weeks he lay still. He visualized his spine rebuilding itself down to every detail. And he mentioned that at first it was hard to focus, but then he trained his mind every day to stay clear with one intention. In 10 weeks, he was walking. He had no surgery, he had no rods put in, and he recovered completely. And that experience changed his life and became the foundation of his work. Today, he goes around teaching that the body is a servant to the mind. And when the mind is clear with the right intention, the body can do things that people would consider impossible. And just like Joe Dispenza, if we start governing our body with the purpose that we're working towards, then we also have the ability to manifest the harmony and beauty of God. And eventually, we will be able to get to a state where death is no longer an issue for us. So when we think about preparing this body, there's 3 end goals that we want to achieve. The first one is we want to be able to control and discipline the body, exactly the same way we saw with Joe Dispenza. Now, we also want to make sure that all the parts in our body are in harmony with each other. And when they're not in harmony, we need to be able to correct any defects that come. But if we want to achieve these goals, then we first need to take the time to learn more about the body. First, you need to understand that the body is an extremely sensitive vessel. It's very easily affected by emotions. Our body is shaped by traits and behaviors of the ancestors that we have, and our body is very influenced by society. A lot of people will come out and say, for example, if you have GI issues, then that is also linked to your emotions. You see, if you take away all these external factors that are impacting the body, then the body itself has this really strong conviction that if something goes wrong, it will be able to cure itself. Mother said that the body has self-healing capabilities, and what we need to do is first ensure that the body doesn't lose this capacity and lose this faith that it can restore itself. You see, when a person starts saying depressing things or starts saying things where victory isn't possible, then the body also starts losing its capacity in healing itself, and it loses the faith that it can do that. So what we need to do is change the stories that we tell ourselves. We need to tell beautiful stories with happy endings. And this will help the body retain the capabilities that it has. And so wherever possible, let the body heal itself and use medications only when necessary. If any one of you are interested, I'd strongly recommend you to read the work of Louise Hay or Dolores Cannon, because there are lots of examples in their works of various disorders in their body, and they track it down to emotions or thoughts or experiences, and they teach great methods for the healing of this. And when you see the approach that was used, the approach is very simple. It is often just a reversal of the thought and the talk that we do to ourselves. What we also want to make sure is that we're keeping our body in a clean and hygienic state. The reason we have to do this is so that we can manifest something that's beautiful. We shouldn't tell children that if we don't do this, then they will fall ill. You see, statements like this start putting a fear of illness in the body. And every single time you talk about something that's a fear, your body will only attract it faster. Now, the other thing that we have to be aware of is that the body also has a knowing. It has its own instinct. And if you want this to develop normally in a child, then you also have to listen to what the instincts are saying. So I've personally seen instances where a child is fed yogurt and then the child spits it out. Sometimes the child is also vomiting from the yogurt. The body has a knowing that the yogurt isn't good for the child. Now, most people are okay with yogurt, but some people's bodies give them a message that this is not good. So if your child is showing responses to certain types of food, then that is the body knowing what's harmful for it. please respect it. And along with that, when you're feeding a child, make sure you're giving the child based on what the child needs. So don't give too much food or don't give too little food. We give food to children because we want them to be healthy. And so the food also must be clean. It should be hygienic. And most importantly, it should be pleasant in taste and simple. So please avoid food that cause a lot of heaviness. And from a very young age, teach children that food is only eaten for the benefit of the body. Food should never be eaten for a desire or a taste. I've seen some instances where people say, well, if you don't eat your food, you will not be able to watch TV today, or you won't get this toy. Please don't do this. The only purpose of food is to maintain good health, and that is the only reasoning that every one of us should walk with. Eating food is never substituted with the greed for something else. And with that, we're at the end of today's session. Just to summarize, today we discussed making a choice to jump into the future. We focused on the areas that we need to prepare, and we started with preparing the body. In the next session, we will continue looking more into how we need to prepare our body for the future that we're working towards. Thank you for listening. Jai Mataji.